you wrote the script for Possession.
I co-wrote it.
You co-wrote it.
Yeah, directed by the Polish director Andrzej Zulawski. Possession, 1981. We started working on it probably 1979, 1978, 78. It took a long time between the conception of doing it and changing producers, and then finally actually making the film. There's a wonderful director in France, Danielle Thompson. She called me one day and said, I have a treatment here from a Polish director. He wants to make a script of it in English. Would you be interested in working with him? So I get the thing, I read it, and I'm fascinated by it. I thought it was just wonderful, beautiful, mysterious, touches of surrealism in it. So it just really was my kind of thing. We got in touch with the producer, and we decided that Andrzej would come to talk to me in New York. It was one of the most rainy days I remember in Manhattan. It was just flooding. And I got to the hotel, he opens the door, Andrzej begins to laugh. Look at you, he said, you're wearing a raincoat, a rain hat, an umbrella, and galoshes. I'm laughing because I was so happy that you weren't one of those Hollywood slick riders they would send over to me. I liked him immediately. He's one of the very few people I adored very quickly and found intellectually enchanting and brilliant, funny. His English was impeccable. He had this kind of Polish melancholy. You know, it's probably part of the culture, kind of romantic Polish melancholy, but also because of what was going on, the country occupied by the Russians. It was just a kind of horrible thinking about living under a system where there's another culture imposing itself on you and you have to have a double life, so to speak. He said, well, you're free this summer. No, I had been teaching, so I was free this summer, of course. The 3 reasons for teaching, June, July, and August. I was teaching at university, at City University. He said, come over this summer. I have a friend who has a house in Saint-Tropez, and we can work there. And it was the most exquisite summer. I mean, you can imagine the conditions better for an American like me coming to live in the south of France. We go somewhere apart and have breakfast, and by a certain moment we start writing. That was the first draft we did. And the producer was called Pierre Caro, C-A-R-O, who was dapper, charming, sophisticated, urbane man. We were going to have to find a cast for this film. And names were bandied around. I didn't understand the movie world. I didn't understand how much of it is just fantasy. A lot of it is make-up stuff. You know, you have a dream. We're going to get, who knows, we're going to get Marilyn Monroe. I don't know, whatever you think. The notion came up of getting Sam Waterston to play the major role. I went back to New York, and I got a call from Pierre Caro and saying, I'd like you and Sam to come over to Paris. And because I had never seen Andrzej's films. I had never seen one film at that point. So we went, we saw the films. I was smitten. Now, I already liked Andrzej, but now I saw the work and I thought, this is something, it's not like work we've seen before. It's just not. It's not anything I was really used to. It's expressionistic. It's very forceful, very action-packed. The camera's always busy. I mean, it was something unusual for me. I mean, I'm used to something like more moderate, more classic, like Alain René's Marion Band, last year at Marion Band. Silent, quiet, understated, cool. This is not cool, this is hot cinema, burning. I loved it, and we went back to New York, and Sam and I got a little friendly. We talked a lot about making films, about things like that. I said to him so naively, I said, Sam, what is the movie business about? Is it all about money? He looked at me and said, of course not, he said. It's about feelings. I said, really? He said, yeah. The producer has to feel it's the right director. The director has to feel it's the right cinematographer. The director has to feel it's the right actor. He said, it's all about feeling, because no one knows anything. It's all intuition and feeling, which was just a remarkable thing. I never thought that. I never thought about that. Sam was busy. He couldn't do the film, so we had Sam Neill to do the role. And around that time, I get a phone call from Andrzej saying, bad news. Pierre Caro is bankrupt, and he's left the country. I'm laughing because the last time I had lunch with Pierre Caro in Paris, he said to me, oh, Fred, can I borrow 500 francs? And I remember Andrzej saying to me, if he asks you for money, don't give it to him. Even if you have it, don't give it to him. I said, I don't have it. I was embarrassed. I don't have it. He said, oh, it's all right. I met someone this afternoon I can ask. I thought, this is a bad sign. This was the bad sign. Anyway, he disappeared. We had no producer, and the film was then stalled. It was just, that was it. No more film. Goodbye. And I was heartbroken because I really liked being part of it. I liked being part of meeting Andrzej and meeting everyone else. He called one day, Andrzej, and said, we're back on again. We have a new producer, Marie Carrère. come back to France. We'll do another draft of the script, and we'll move on. We finished it, and they went into production eventually, and to be shot in Berlin. Takes place in Berlin. Takes place in Berlin when the wall was still up, which was very crucial to a certain kind of underpinning of the film, a certain kind of atmosphere of the film, of a kind of threat. Where the film was shot in an apartment right by the wall, where you could look out the window and see turrets, and you could see the soldiers with their weapons ready to shoot anyone trying to cross over. And then one day, I was back in Paris while the shooting was going on. And Andrzej called me and said, we have to write a character out of the script, a central character in the script. We have to write him out of the script and put it together. I eventually went there. I thought he was out of his mind. But we did it. We had to expunge a character. And so I was there during the shooting, which was kind of an extraordinary thing. Isabella Gianni, whom I'd gotten to know and liked very much, and Sam Neill, who I thought was an adorable guy. We shot the film. It was quite wonderful to see Andrzej actually doing the directing. I was there, but behind the camera. It was a dramatic experience. The film had its mishaps, and finally went to Cannes Festival. Isabella Gianni got the very much prestigious César Award for her acting in that film. She never got an award for the films she had been making until she worked with Zulawski. That was a very important thing. However, except for a very big front page encomium in Le Monde, in the newspaper Le Monde, everyone hated the film. Hated it beyond words. I remember the Variety review. It was very charming in its way because it was so cunningly dismissive. It said, it looks as if the film has been made through Saniflush. Now Saniflush is that thing you put in the toilet bowl and it turns blue. So he was claiming that the whole film looked like it had a blue glaze all over it. That was one of his criticisms of it. I think it was a failure. It was a failure. It was a failure. However, because of the success for Isabella Gianni, people wanted to work with Andrzej, women. They thought he's a woman's director. He knows how to portray women, and he had a César. So we got a commission, a producer from a Swiss producer, for another film to be made with Natasha Kinski. I thought that this was a much better film than Possession. Much more complex, more rich. When we gave the script to Natasha Kinski's agent, he said, I'll never let her make this film. It'll ruin her career. It'll ruin her career. There was sex in it, she was going to be naked in it. You know, if you see Possession, you'll understand. So that was the end of that. But go back to Possession. They opened the film on Halloween in New York, in one movie house. And I went to see it, and I realized what they had done. They had basically cut out the interaction of the characters that was basically a psychological interaction in favor of winnowing the film down to a kind of horror story. So they can sell it a horror story with a monster and all that. It was just amputated. It was death. But I guess they wanted to make money from the film. They could have the Americans buy it, and that was that.
Right.
So it has been shown over the years now. Anthology Archives, 2 different Valentine's Day, asked me to come and introduce the film. First time they said to me, we'd like you to come and introduce the film. I said, why? Who knows about this film? And they started to laugh. And I said, is anyone going to come? No one's going to come. It was 9 o'clock at night. So they said, and actually the guy who called me, he said, don't worry, you'll see. When I went there was a line around the block, Millie, a line around the block. It was packed. The whole place was packed. And they were waiting they were seeing it in the video in the hallway. The whole place, people were in the aisle. I could not believe my eyes. All young people, crazy for the film. I did it again the second time on Valentine's Day. Because it's also, a portrait of a broken marriage. It's a portrait of a destroyed marriage. It has a kind of cult status. I'm just very sorry Andrzej died. I miss him very much. If you're listening, Andrzej, hello. Hi, Guy, how are you? That's the abridged version of my relationship to Possession. It's very abridged. The truth will come out one day after I'm dead.
Okay. Thank you, Frederic.
Thank you, Mary. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
Oh my God, look how it's raining.
Yeah, it'll stop. It's
Yeah.
it's just good. It's
beautiful.
It's cooling it down. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Well, it actually looks pretty pretty bright.
Yeah. But you see, it's stopping already.
Yeah, it is,
It had
it
a
is.
moment. It's here. It had its moment.
Wow, it got really intense when we were talking about it.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be? How does it?